Hello everyone, my name's Pamela and I'm going to teach you some magic. We obviously know that Aziraphale loves doing his magic tricks, and we have all seen the poster for the amazing Mr. Fell and his remarkable feats of prestidigitation. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go according to plan at Warlock's birthday party. And the problem is, I think, prestidigitation. It literally means nimble fingers. It refers to sleight of hand and conjuring tricks that are actually very difficult to perform. I think we've got to give Aziraphale some credit there. So I think his mistake was trying to do tricks of that nature, because in fact there are loads and loads and loads of magic tricks that you can do that are so completely foolproof that basically there is nothing you can do that will make it go wrong. And maybe that's the kind of magic tricks that he should be doing until he gets a little more back into practice with his sleight of hand. So I'm going to teach you 4 magic tricks, all of which are really easy and cannot possibly go wrong. I'm going to start with a few things that involve getting inside people's heads, or certainly giving the impression that you're getting inside someone's head. So I'm going to do 3 tricks like that, and then I will do one final trick which is about making something disappear. So I'll show you how they're performed and then I'll show you how they're done. Hi Tara, thank you very much for volunteering.
Hi Pam, no problem.
So we're going to do a few magic tricks. The first one I'm going to do is all about influence, okay? So I've got an envelope here, and inside the envelope I have got 3 coloured cards. I've got a red card, a yellow card and a blue card. I'm going to try to influence you to choose one of the 3 cards in particular, okay? So if you could just look at the picture of me, I will look at the camera. Your choices are the red card, the yellow card, or the blue card. Can you let me know which one you have chosen?
I've chosen the blue card.
Now in the envelope, which has been down at my side this whole time, my prediction of what you would choose is inside. So
no way.
you'll choose the blue.
That's amazing.
Card. Thank you very much. I can confirm there is nothing else inside the envelope.
Wow. So in this trick, what's going on is all about the fact that people don't tend to think about what they can't see. And everything in magic is about something that you can't see. You know that there's something going on that you're not aware of. But with this one, even though it's really, really easy, and once you know, you kind of can't believe that you didn't see it. I have done this, I don't even know how many times. I've probably performed this hundreds of times. And it's very, very rare that someone figures out how it's done. So if you did figure it out, well done. The fact is, there are actually 3 different reveals to this magic trick, depending on what your volunteer chooses. So they do have free choice. This isn't a trick that involves any form of influence. So you don't have to have any skill whatsoever. You show them the 3 coloured cards and it doesn't matter which one they pick. Now some people think that maybe there is another card like this one that you can quickly slip into the envelope as you pick it up. That's not foolproof, that's not easy. You'll probably drop the card and mess it up. It's not that, it's much, much easier than that. So this card that says you will choose the blue card is always inside the envelope. If they choose the blue card, you give them the envelope, they can see that that prediction is inside. But if they choose the red card, you take off your hat and you show them that inside it says
you will choose the red card. And if they choose the yellow card, you show them the back of the yellow card, which says you will choose the yellow card. And then of course with that one, they always think you've just written that on the back of all of the cards, so you show them that there is nothing on the back of the other two. And for some reason, people don't really question it. It kind of makes sense because the envelope isn't a suspicious object. The envelope has been around because that's where you took the cards from. So if you never touch the envelope again, that's not suspicious. Your hat is part of your costume. If you never touch it, that's not suspicious. And if you never showed the back of the cards, no one would ever have any reason to think there was anything there. So they're not suspicious too. So I'll show you now how our second trick is performed. Next trick we're going to do is a card trick. So I've got a deck of cards here, just a normal deck of cards. Hopefully you can see them there, nicely shuffled up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cutting the deck, and I'm going to continue to do that, cutting it in different places. And when you want me to stop, say stop. And when I do, the card that's on the top, that's going to be your card, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep cutting the deck. And you just let me do this as many times as you like, and then whenever you're ready, say stop.
Okay.
Hopefully you can see
Right.
it in places.
And stop.
Okay, so that's going to be your card. So
Yeah.
ordinarily, if we were doing this in person, I would give that to you to keep. I'm not going to touch it because there's too much potential for me to have a sneaky peek at it, but I am going to try to psychically work out what this card is on the top of the pack, okay? So I do think the card's going to be a 7. I think it's the 7 of clubs. So we're going to have a look together. You'll see it at the same time as me.
Okay.
And that is your card, the 7 of clubs. Now this trick is incredibly effective and again incredibly straightforward. You do have to do a little bit of setup before, but once that's done, this can't go wrong. You can repeat this over and over and over again with an audience, with different people participating, and do it as many times as you like, and it will still work. At the beginning, I showed the cards, and I showed that this is a normal deck of cards. It is, all of the cards are in there, and I may have told a small lie and said that the cards were randomly shuffled. They're not. The cards are in a particular sequence. So although we think about a deck of cards as being something linear, so having a linear sequence, it's actually more of a circle. Every time I cut them, whichever card was on the top is going next to the card that was on the bottom. And that's true no matter how many times you cut. So whenever you see a magician saying, cut the deck for me, you can cut the deck as many times as you like. If they say cut instead of shuffle, they are deceiving you. The cards are in some kind of order that they're trying to maintain. Because no matter how many times I cut this deck, these cards are not coming out of sequence. So that means that the card on the top, which is your volunteer's card, is always the next card in the sequence from the card that's on the bottom. So even if you do give them the card, or you just leave it in place, a very quick look at the bottom gives you all the information you need to know which card's on the top. So here we have the 10 of hearts, so I just need to work out what would be the next card in the sequence. Now I said these were easy and foolproof. It's not easy and foolproof to learn an entire sequence of cards. It wouldn't be. But there is an underlying pattern to them that is actually very, very easy to remember. And it's the order of the suits. So they always go clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds. So with it being a heart on the bottom, clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds, it's going to be one of the spades. And they always go up in threes. So 10, jack, queen, king. So it's going to be the king of spades. I will put a link to a tutorial for setting the cards up into that sequence. It's really easy to do. You sort them out into their different suits and then one by one put them into the order. And it's quite quick to do as long as you don't drop them and get them out of order, which I have done. Not while I was performing, after, fortunately, but it is very easy to do, and like I say, you can do it as many times as you want, and even with the same person, they don't seem to figure it out. So in that trick, we seem to have a bit of a psychic moment of being able to work out what the card was, because normally I would hand the card to someone, and you can either say you're detecting which card they have, or you're psychically detecting which card is missing from the deck. The next trick that I'm going to show you involves seeming to get inside someone's head as well. So here's our third trick.
Okay, so time for our third magic trick. In this one, I need you to choose a number. Don't tell me what it is, but you're going to choose a number between 25 and 40. Okay. Inclusive, so you can choose 25, you can choose 40, you can choose anything in between, but it does need to be an integer. It needs to be a whole number, not having like 26.6 or something like that. Okay, so a nice whole number between 25 and 40. Do you have one?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now I have here an empty grid, which is going to become important in a moment. But first, before I can do anything with my grid, I need to work out what your number is. So don't say anything, but if you could look into your camera for me.
Okay.
And obviously I'm looking at you. So look into the camera. Just think your number in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Think that number in your head. Think that number, which is something in the 20s or in the 30s, or it's 40. Keep thinking that number, 20s, 30s, 40. Send me that number. Keep thinking, keep thinking. Okay. Okay, I think I've got this. Right, time to do something with my grid. Hopefully I've got this. I think I have. I think I've got this. Okay, hang on. Can you see that? I'm starting to write some numbers in the grid. Now, obviously, none of these are your number, but can you tell me what your number is?
It's 37.
37, okay. I've got this. I've got this. I think I've got this. Let me just do a little bit of maths just to check. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I think I've got it. I think I got your number. Right, let's see. Let's hope the light is good enough. Can you see the grid there?
Yeah.
So obviously this was your number 37. And I haven't written the number 37 anywhere else on the grid, but can you spot anything interesting about the grid?
There's a couple of sevens. I'm not sure
how this might relate to your number.
8. There's a 3.
Yeah. Okay, shall I tell you?
Yeah.
Every row in the grid adds up to your number 37.
Oh.
17 plus 1 is 18, plus 12 is 30, plus 7 is 37. 11 and 8 is 19, sorry, plus 2 plus 16.
Oh,
plus 7.
wow.
5, 10, 15, plus 19, plus 3 is 37, 4, 18, 6, and 9. But that wouldn't be that impressive as a piece of maths to do in that time.
Okay.
The other interesting thing about this, though, is that every column in the grid also adds up to 37. If we do 17, 11, 5 and 4 is 37, 1, 8, 10, and 18.
Okay.
12, 16, 3, and 6, 7, 2, 19, and 9 all add up to your number 37. But that still wouldn't be that impressive, I don't think. So if you keep looking at the grid, 17 plus 7 plus 4 plus 9 also adds up to 37. If we have a look at the 4 center squares, 10, 8, 16, and 3 also adds up to 37. The 2 diagonals also add up to 37. And this is your magic square revelation that I picked up your psychic influence of your number 37.
That's amazing. Wow.
So in this one, you appear to be doing some very, very quick maths and also a little bit of mind reading. So any number between 25 and 40, and you could do this with other numbers as well, but I make it that shorter range because it makes it a little bit less obvious what you're doing, which will become apparent. Any of those numbers, you can very quickly create one of these, what's called a magic square, where all of the rows, columns, diagonals, corner squares, center squares add up to the person's chosen number. And there are different ways of performing this. It was a little bit restricted doing it on Zoom, but you can have other ways of revealing their number that are maybe a little bit more impressive than just trying to read their mind or seem like you're trying to read their mind. You're not reading their mind at all. You have no idea what their number is until the moment that they say it. So as you saw when I was performing that, most of the grid had been filled in before Tara told me what her number was. That's because there's an underlying pattern here as well. Most of the numbers, in fact all of the numbers except for 4 of them in this grid, are the same no matter which number the other person chooses. So you can appear to be doing something and maybe having a psychic impression, maybe doing some calculations, because you're writing 12 numbers into this grid that actually are predetermined. It's always going to be those 12 numbers. Now, one thing that when this is normally performed makes this not completely easy and foolproof is that it would depend on your ability to remember those numbers plus what happens with the other 4 squares, which I'll tell you about in a second. However, if you want to do this in a way that is completely foolproof, you can do what I did. I actually wrote the numbers. I don't think the camera will even pick this up, but I wrote the numbers that should be in each square in very tiny little pencil marks in the top right corner. And I can tell you from experience, if you're on stage and there's distance between you and your audience and you've got bright stage lights on you, the pencil marks are never going to be picked up. It does mean you can't give this to your volunteer afterwards, which is the downside. So if you have a good memory, you can remember the 12 numbers. It's pretty easy to do, especially the more you have a go at it. The other 4, and I will circle which ones they are, the other 4 have a little calculation you have to do using the person's number. So the 4 that I've circled, those ones aren't predetermined. I'm just going to make that a little bit darker so I can see a bit more easily. There we go. So those 4 you do have to calculate. Start with this one. This is just whichever number the person chose minus 20. Then this one is that number minus 1. This one is that number plus 1. And that one is that number plus 1. And again, if you're not completely confident with your memory, just put little notes to yourself. So this one, I call this A. A is X minus 20. And then this is A minus 1. This is A plus 1. And that is A plus 2. And nice and easy to remember, works for any integer number. Okay, one more magic trick for you. I promised we would do something about making things disappear because it's a magic staple. You have to be able to make things disappear. One of the things that Aziraphale tried to do is something called a French drop, which is what he does in the dinosaur park with the coin. So he's trying to make it look as if the coin has disappeared by passing it to his other hand and palming it and then dropping it out of sight. That's very difficult to do, and it's particularly difficult with something like a coin. Depending on the surface you drop it on, you don't want to make a noise and you don't want it to be seen. It's a difficult thing to do. So, is there something we can do that's easier, that still involves making something disappear? My favourite one, out of all the disappearing tricks that I do, is making water disappear. So, you get a cup, you pour the water into the cup, and then however you want to do it, magic words, magic gestures, whatever you want to do, you're going to make the water in the cup disappear. So the water has now disappeared from the cup. So I don't have a volunteer for this one. This would be very difficult to do via Zoom. Perhaps I could demonstrate with myself. If I had an audience member, especially kids, maybe threatened that I'm going to turn the cup on top, upside down on their head. They tend to want you to do that. They think it'll be really funny. Or I can do it to myself. So I can get the cup and turn it upside down over my head. Hopefully you can see that. So the water has completely disappeared from the cup. So how do you make that happen? I've heard all sorts of theories from people who have seen me do this, of really elaborate things they think that I've done. It's really easy, can't possibly go wrong. So I'll show you the inside of the cup. Again, you might not be able to see it very well on the camera. There is actually something inside there. So before you start the trick, inside your cup, you put a little bit of this. This is something called sodium polyacrylate. It's a white powder, and it's actually the same thing that you get inside babies' nappies or diapers. So it's a super-absorbent polymer. So very, very good at absorbing huge amounts of water. So I can put in 1 teaspoon of this, and in my glass I have about 4 tablespoons worth of water. So it's quite a lot of water that 1 little teaspoon of the powder can absorb. The powder's already in the cup. So this is the foolproof way of doing it. You can't let anyone see your cup before you start because they're going to see the powder, but it is the easiest way of doing it. Put the powder in first, and then when you pour your water in, just a little bit of talking to your audience. It will only take 20 seconds or so to absorb, and if you want to make absolutely sure before you pour it over yourself, you can have a little peek and you will see a gel that has formed in the bottom. It's actually quite difficult to get out. You have to wait for it to dry out a bit to clean out your cup afterwards. That's the downside of that, but it's very good that it holds on to the water. The cleverer way of doing it that is not foolproof and requires effort and is easier to do if you've got an assistant who's doing something else at the same time so they can distract your audience, is if you show the cup is empty, or the audience have seen that the cup is empty, and then a very quick maneuver with it hidden behind some kind of table or something. So if you're standing behind it and you bring it out of sight, you very quickly dump the pre-measured amount of powder into the cup. And if you do that incredibly quickly, especially if your audience's attention is focused somewhere else, it's even more impressive because they believe that they know that that cup was completely empty. So that's all the magic tricks that I have to teach you. Really easy, completely foolproof. I'll put some more information in the description so that you've got links to things for tutorials and so on if you want to set that up yourself, including the numbers to use for the magic square and how to set up the deck of cards. Hopefully now, if you ever find yourself in a position of needing to entertain at the wrong Antichrist's birthday, you will do a very good job of it, because all of this is magic that even Aziraphale could do. Bye!